So we will talk about 1880 704 garment testing, performance and sustainability. Now in unit 1 we have just discussed about the essential elements of garment testing, and we have seen the preliminary testing or the importance of garment testing in lesson 1. Now in lesson 2 we will talk about routine testing, random testing and supplier-initiated testing. Now in introduction we can talk about different types of testing which are very common for garment, and those are the things coming under the routine testing. Like first one is that round shaped one is the GSM cutter, which is used for the determination of the weight of the garment. Then second picture talks about the colorfastness to rubbing. Then comes the colorfastness to different types of washed garment, how the pH behaves into that in the garment, what is the acidity level or the alkalinity level in the garment. Then we are talking about the electronic balance, which is used for many other purposes. So routine testing and random testing, so those type of testing depends upon the requirement. Routine testing is very important when one garment is getting exported. So some of the testing which are essential on routine basis or the testing protocol that is getting followed. Sometimes supplier initiated testings are also getting followed. Supplier, for their own satisfaction, they do certain testing. Similarly, the random testing, sometimes the buyer wants to do certain random testing in the garment lot. So that is coming under this category of random testing. There are certain kinds of testing also available which are called the chemical testing. So different chemical groups are getting identified in restricted substances testing. So those are the areas are to be covered here. Now when we talk about different sources of restricted substances in textile and apparel, so this is one of the important part of discussion, and different restricted substances are there in the chemicals. So what are those sources? So that has to be identified. One of them is that alkyl phenol ethoxylate, or in short APEOs. Now where APEOs are used and how much beneficial or how much detrimental it is for human health. Now alkyl phenol ethoxylate, the source is there in the weighting agent which is used in the textile applications. Then in washing different chemicals are used, and then comes the emulsification process. So those kind of areas alkyl phenol ethoxylates are used. Now what are the disadvantages? Aquatic toxicity increases, endocrine disruption, it happens with APEOs. So those are the different hazards, chemical hazards associated with APEOs. Now if you talk about the dyes, there are certain allergenic dispersed dyes there, and dispersed dye is used for dyeing up polyester, and if allergenic dispersed dyes are used, then it will cause the skin allergy. So polyester dyeing, this is the one of the challenges. Then comes different carcinogenic amines, and these carcinogenic amines are found in certain dyes. So dyeing of cotton, silk and wool, this kind of carcinogenic amines can be found and it can cause cancer. So we have to be careful while selecting the dyes. Now carcinogenic dye, when you are talking, we also talk about different use of the carcinogenic dyes and their harmful effect, as we have already seen. And normally the azo dyes, the reductive cleavage happens in this kind of dyes, and that band amines are getting formed. It can be found in the wool dyeing also. Now one important part of printing is that plastisol ink or plastisol print, that is called the phthalate. So phthalate is used in plastisol prints when it is printed. So phthalate also is one of the endocrine disruptors. It is mutagenic and there is impact on nervous and immune system of human being. Now phthalates, when you are talking different application of phthalates like printing ink, it is there, paints, it is there. So different areas, plastic bottles also phthalates can be found. Now in screen printing area, the phthalate is very essential. It is bioaccumulative, health impact is also there. So we have to be careful while selecting this phthalate. Now formaldehyde is another important area of discussion, and this is also a restricted substances which can be found in resin. So textile items are normally finished with resin to impart various properties. One of them is the crease resistant testing or crease resistant properties. Then comes the dye fixing agent. Formaldehyde is also used in the dyeing and it acts as a fixing agent. It also acts as a binder in the printing. So these are the different areas where formaldehyde can be found. This is a suspected carcinogen, again can cause cancer, skin and respiratory sensitizer. So formaldehyde is having its own disadvantages. But we cannot avoid formaldehyde because a lot of finishing agents are there where formaldehyde is getting used. And textile finishing is always depend upon the formaldehyde. Okay, wrinkle and crease resistant garment can be produced out of it. So we have to be very careful while selecting the dyes, chemicals or finishing agents. And cadmium, lead and nickel, those are coming under the heavy metal categories and it can be found in the dyes and pigments. But if it is there in the garment, there is effect on kidney and different other diseases. So we have to be careful about the heavy metals also. Chlorophenols. Chlorophenols are also found in the garment. How? Because chlorophenols are used as preservatives in the sizing material, anti-molding agent, antibacterial agent. It's used in the dry cleaning purpose also, and if it is found in the garment, it can cause cancer and skin sensitization. So chlorophenols we have to avoid in the garment. Chlorobenzene is also another area of concern which is found in the carrier, and carrier is normally used in polyester dyeing, and chlorobenzene is also a solvent. But disadvantage of chlorobenzene is that it is carcinogenic effect is there. It is also the ozone depleting agent. So chlorobenzene also we have to be very careful about this kind of structure which are found in different chemicals. Now volatile organic compounds, VOCs, this is also very important as restricted substances, and this is normally found in the printing area. So a lot of VOCs are getting found there, and it is also found in the spot cleaning operations, then degreasing operations. And harmful effect of these volatile organic compounds are eye damage, then respiratory sensitizations. So VOCs are harmful for human health. Perfluorinated compounds, PFCs, this is an important area in textile finishing, and as you can see from the picture, a lot of water repellency kind of property has been developed. So perfluoro compounds are there as a water repellent finish or a stain release finish. This is also used in the oil repellency properties also. What are the harmful properties? It can cause liver cancer. It is the development of reproductive toxicity. So PFCs are to be banned into that, and one should not use such chemicals in the production process. Now, when we talk about the evaluation of restricted substances, green consumer concept comes into the clothing and the home textile industry. So, this kind of concept should be there in the garment industry. Now, nappies and other sanitary products, these kind of products are also, we have to judge carefully. Wigs and hats where such kind of harmful material can be found. Wristwatch straps also are there where these harmful materials can be found. Even in different kind of footwear, this type of chemicals can be found which are harmful for human body. It can be found in the gloves also. Purses and wallets also are not exempted from it. There also one can find such kind of products, harmful material. It is found in the leather belts also. It is found in the different types of briefcase, bags, etc. It is also found in the chair covers. It is also found in different types of toys. So, evaluation of restricted substances, when you are talking, there are different chemicals, different methods are applicable for that, and different chemicals or restricted substances which are used in the manufacturing of different garments, there it is used. And manufacturing process, when we are talking about the production, we are talking about the development of the product, we are talking about the testing of the finished product. So, restricted substances plays an important role here. You have to evaluate those restricted substances. Now, testing types, what we are talking here is the routine testing, random testing, and also supplier-initiated testing. Now, when you are talking about the testing, different types of textile testing methods are also there in the industry. Routine testing. If we talk about the routine testing, what are the things covered into this routine testing? So, some of the testings which are there tested at the third party commercial laboratory. So, those are the essential tests which are to be carried out on routine basis. Otherwise, you cannot export the garments, and we have to get a pass report of those garments. It can be of fabrics, it can be of trims, and finally, it is there in the garment. So, routine testing are done in the fabric stage, trim stage, and the garment stage. And it all depends upon the testing protocol. Now, when you are talking about this routine testing, very important thing is that it is very important for the suppliers, because no shipping will happen until pass test report and until it meets all the requirement of RSL. So, that's restricted substances which I talked, those should not be present in the garment, and then only the supplier will get the payment in the routine testing. Now, what will happen in the failure? If fails, that is the garment, if it fails. So, methodology is like that, one has to fill up the failure resolution form, how this failure happened and how to rectify those. Source of failure, very important. Then action to prevent such failure. So, those are the things covered under this routine testing, and acknowledgement for changes. What are the changes the supplier has to do? So, those are the areas covered under the routine testing. Then comes the random testing. Now, what are the areas covered under the random testing? So, randomly supplier database or supplier's factory, one buyer can pull the samples randomly and test. Supplier can also test their product randomly. So, randomly selected samples will be tested in the random testing depending upon the garment. Now, very important is that random testing, because it will give the idea whether this lot is having the different kind of cause of concern in terms of restricted substances presence or not. Now, failures, when it is there, as I already discussed, the failure must be treated carefully. failure resolution form must be filled up. Then comes the supplier initiated testing. So what are the areas covered under this supplier initiated testing? Now supplier initiated testing, it is done in the supplier's own establishment. That we call it as a in-house laboratory. Supplier's in-house laboratory, it must be audited also and approved also. So those kind of establishment, the supplier can do the testing, and supplier's own testing it comes under, and supplier they do this for confidential purposes. Confidential purposes because supplier will be certain his material when it goes for the routine testing or goes for the random testing, it will not fail. So that's why supplier initiative testing is getting done by the supplier themselves in their own testing laboratory, which is approved by the buyer. So that is called supplier initiated testing. Now when you are talking about the supplier initiated testing, no expensive instruments should be used there, otherwise it will add to the cost for the supplier, and it must be done on very limited areas. So all the things cannot be tested in the supplier initiated testing. So limited areas of testing can be done by this supplier, otherwise the cost of the product will increase. So in this particular lesson 2 in the garment testing, we have covered about different sources where the RSL can be found and what are the harmful effects of it. We have covered also the routine testing and why it is important. We have also covered the random testing, and also we have seen that supplier initiative testing. Supplier initiated testing, why it is important to get the confidence into the supplier's mind, and routine testing is very important for the point of view of the supplier, because without passing the test report in the different parameters of RSL, the material cannot be shipped. And similar case is the random testing. Sometimes the random testing is done by the supplier, sometimes it is done by the buyer also. If there is any suspect or any suspicion about any product, then random testing also is carried out by both the suppliers or the buyer. So these are the different areas of testing which we try to cover over here, and this is the summary of this lesson 2. Thank you.